We can't shop our way out of the climate crisis. In this episode, Ashlee Piper unpacks how our addiction to consumption, fueled by social media and marketing, drives environmental destruction, mental burnout, and financial stress. But instead of shame, she offers a radically simple alternative. Start with less. Today's guest is a powerhouse in the sustainability world, and someone who isn't afraid to call out the clutter, the greenwashing, and the myth that buying eco-friendly stuff is the answer. Ashlee Piper is a sustainability expert, author, speaker, and educator whose work has been featured everywhere from the Today Show to Vogue to the New York Times. She's the author of 2 game-changing books, Give a Shit and Know New Things, and a creator of wildly practical tools like her hashtag Know New Things Challenge and LinkedIn Learning course on workplace sustainability that are helping people rethink their habits and their impact. Whether she's consulting for major brands, teaching at Loyola, finding the best home accessories in her local Buy Nothing group, or challenging her own relationship to consumption, Ashlee brings humor, clarity, and radical honesty to a space that desperately needs it. Ashlee, welcome to Unbottled.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. What an intro.
Yeah,
Holy
what a
moly,
bio.
I'm bringing you with me everywhere I go. Thank you.
Just record my voice and
My God.
play it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I didn't say this, but
You
someone
enter
else
the room
did.
before me. You're my new promoter. Thank you very much. I'm very excited to sit down with you.
I'm really excited as well. Starting with one of my favorite questions. I know you are a thrifty vintage shopper. Can we do a fit check? Tell us what you're wearing and where it's from.
Well, I'm certainly not wearing like my big conquests from like thrift or vintage, but let's see. I'm wearing some very old sandals that I've had that are Timberland.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I got them at Crossroads. What? I'm wearing some Hudson jeans. I also got at Crossroads. You're going to notice like a significant thing here. I'm wearing an École de Femme shirt that I think I got on Poshmark. And then for my earrings, I am wearing these earrings by this brand called Cled.
Okay.
Which makes eco gems from recycled glass. So I'm friends with the brand and I really love their stuff. So that's what I'm wearing.
Amazing. So what I love about that question in particular, being here in Chicago, is I think Chicago is the best thrifting town in all of the United States.
Damn, that's quite an assertion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I grew up in Evanston, just outside the city, and my best friend and I used to come down on the train and go to Belmont and go thrift shopping. And I mean, I got all my clothes in high school doing
Love
that.
It. Early adopter.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, we just have a lot of space here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I think Chicago's a great place. And I actually think like the burbs too are a great place to thrift as well.
Oh, cool. All right. I haven't gotten out there
for the thrifting. We're going to go. We're going on a date.
Love it. We're going to go thrifting together. And then Ashlee is getting me to foster a dog.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Those are the only next. 2 things I'm good for. I'll get people buying secondhand and I'll get them buying secondhand pets too. That's how I roll.
Circularity.
Yeah. We love it.
Keep it in rotation.
We absolutely love it.
Cool. So you are a sustainability expert now. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us, how did you get here? What was your oh no moment when it came to overconsumption and climate?
Sure. So I'll kind of say how I got here. I was a political strategist for a decade, and I was working at a firm where I couldn't choose my clients. So I was kind of being, given clients of all different political ilks and beliefs. And I, at the same time, was becoming very personally interested in sustainable living. And like to the point where it became almost like a fixation or a passion for me. I was really getting a lot of energy and joy from introducing kind of and exploring and workshopping habits in my life, my personal life, that I felt were more sustainable. And this was at this point almost like 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of started to hit me that a lot of these clients who I was working with and for really, who were these like high ranking politicians who were seeking re-election. And I was tasked with doing a lot of their campaign management and messaging and kind of being a marketer for them, basically. And so few of them were talking about sustainability, which I thought was kind of a miss, but it just wasn't as popular of a platform piece as it is now. And I kind of thought like, hey, why can't I just do what I'm doing for all of these politicians, many of whom I didn't feel aligned with values-wise anyway, for sustainability. And I just didn't see at the time many people talking about sustainable living or kind of eco-friendly habits in mainstream media. And I thought that there was kind of a miss with that. So I thought, okay, there's no real blueprint for what a career looks like here, in this. I didn't see anybody else really doing it. Sometimes I actually say, like, I'm kind of one of the first people to bring eco-friendly living to mainstream television, because I started doing TV segments on eco-friendly living probably about 12 or 13 years ago now. And there just weren't people who were really doing that. But I thought, hey, let me try. And so with no experience really doing any media stuff at all, I ended up leaving political strategy and sort of forging my own path in sustainability. And of course, there were offshoots now where I do consulting for companies and organizations around ESG and also around marketing. I teach sustainability marketing. I speak. I've written 2 books, and I still do a lot of media and TV stuff as well. But it was just sort of a glimmer or a hunch of like, I really love this thing. I really believe in it. There is no blueprint or kind of pathway that I can see. But I know I can't keep doing political strategy in a way that feels meaningful for me. I need to kind of pursue this. And so that's what I've been doing. As far as my relationship to what we'd call now like overconsumption, I talk about it in the book because it's kind of my like villain origin story or whatever the kids call it. But around that time where I was really becoming interested in sustainability, I was also becoming like more stressed out by my job. It was I don't want to say it was like an Olivia Pope and Scandal type of job, but it wasn't terribly far afield from that. I would be a fixer for like problems, and those problems would happen, especially PR kind of optics problems would happen at all hours of the day. So I would sleep with my phone on under my pillow at night, getting calls at like 3, 4 in the morning, and just feeling like a disconnect. Feeling grateful for that career, but also feeling a real disconnect between the things I cared about and was passionate about, and then these people who I was really tasked with making popular in the mainstream. And I didn't agree with them, and I didn't think they were necessarily going to do good things for the country or for their particular jurisdictions or municipalities. So instead of coping with that stress and that kind of realization that maybe this is no longer a fit for me, I started shopping. I was never like a big shopper, but I started shopping as a way of self-soothing, which the research shows, and we kind of anecdotally know this, a lot of people turn to shopping as a form of therapy. We literally call it, retail therapy.
Yep.
And there's a dopamine hit that comes from shopping and from browsing. And so I kind of developed like a few month habit where I was buying things that made like literally no sense for my life. I'm talking like clothes that are 3, 4 sizes too small, or things for an aspirational life I wasn't living, and stuff that just like sequined pillows and stuff that just functionally like didn't make a ton of sense for the utility in my life. And I racked up some consumer debt, not something where like creditors were banging on my door or anything like that. But I got to a point where it was uncomfortable for me, wasn't sustainable for me, and I kind of knew something had to give. And there was this intersection of the sustainability practices I was incorporating into my own life, and then this challenge that I had with, why am I trying to soothe emotional things with shopping? Yeah. And what else can I do that's healthier? And how can I make sure that this isn't galvanized as a habit in my life? So that's kind of how I started doing No New Things back in 2013, was I think a little bit out of necessity and a little bit out of, I wanted to challenge myself to see if I could buy nothing new aside from like groceries and underpants or whatever, you know,
socks
for 30 days. It was really only intended to be 30 days. And I ended up doing it for 2 years straight almost.
Yeah.
And I still pretty much live in that way. I still buy some new stuff. Like, it's funny when I'm no celebrity, but sometimes when people meet me or I do podcasts or whatever, people be like, okay, this is new. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, dog, I buy new things. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, that's how I felt about my outfit.
And your outfit looks beautiful and you're going to get a lot of use out of it and you should feel great about it. But like,
I did 2 years of not buying new things.
There you go.
When I was living in China, but it was incredibly hard.
Really?
For me, at least. Like what you're talking about, the self-soothing, I don't get that so much, but the opportunity to imagine other activities and events. Maybe I'll go to that ball one day, and this is the perfect dress for it. So why wouldn't I buy it now?
Yeah.
You know?
Of course.
I wonder if also you've like, if that's one of the angles that you think about, is that in some ways, like we all want to be better people in whatever better might mean. And shopping and your outfit is like a quick way to tell yourself that you've changed.
Totally. There's like, and I think it's important to like kind of separate. So there's the marketing around having an outfit that I feel good in can only happen if I buy something new. Right. That's kind of the narrative that we've been fed. And there's like a whole there are tons of historical reasons for that. But the truth is you can have an outfit that looks bomb and you feel great in, and it's not something new that you bought. It's something, because everybody has kind of like their own reasons for maybe why they've potentially developed an uncomfortable relationship to shopping or a full-on problematic relationship to shopping. And they're all different sometimes, but the fact kind of still remains that in the US or the global West, in late stage capitalism, you know, we are marketed to believe that buying something new is the potential solution to or the salve for every conceivable human condition.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. We like are excited because we got a promotion or a hot date or whatever. We're buying something in celebration. You know, I certainly used to do that. I'd go to Sephora. I'd be like, dog, it's on. You know, I'm buying myself some stuff. Or you feel freaking sad, or you feel stressed, or your boss is being a dick, or like whatever.
Right.
You didn't hear back from somebody and you're feeling rejected, or, you know, or you're procrastinating, or you're bored. Like we shop for every other reason aside from utility, which is like, Manuela, it's snowing outside. I need some snow boots. So like almost like an infinitesimal, like small percentage of how we buy is that like utility focused way. Every other way is subconscious, emotionally driven, marketing driven, because we feel like we're going to get a dose of creativity from it. We're going to feel excited about our future life, just like you kind of talked about, or I'm going to feel better and less stressed. The fact of the matter is we almost never are, like when we buy something new.
Yeah.
So not to poo-poo buying new, but it's been really upheld as like the cure-all for all sorts of things.
Yep.
And it's actually not.
Yeah. And a lot of our economy, right, is predicated on just pushing through the system new stuff. Over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. Instead of repairing, using what you've got, upcycling, reimagining things, right?
Yeah.
You know, we've really focused on, you've got to have one of everything at your house.
Right.
You know, you gotta have this. And usually it's, especially now, it's poorly made crap, you know, that doesn't last till the water gets hot and you can't repair it. And it doesn't bring the kind of joy and that's one of my primary arguments, is that buying new doesn't bring the same kind of joy and satisfaction and fulfillment that actually engaging in other ways to get your needs met will.
I agree. Is that what you define as conditioned consumerism? And can you define that for us? And why is that so hard to break?
Yeah, so I call it conditioned consumerism, and sometimes when I'm feeling extra spicy, like coerced consumerism. We like alliteration here, but really, if you look at the kind of post-World War II industrialization history in the United States especially, there is such a stark contrast between production and consumption before World War II and after. And that's because we had, you know, expanded industrial capabilities in a way that the world had never seen before, or really since. And then you've got all these men returning from war and they need jobs. And so those factories become places that are no longer making, you know, weapons of war or trappings of war like propellers and parachutes and things like that. They have to make something else to make use of that space and this new workforce they need to make space for. And so they start making convenience goods and luxury goods, the likes of which most people could not even conceive of. This is also like post-World War II is also a time where you see all this like really futuristic kind of stuff coming out, like flying lawnmowers and things that like we don't even have today, I don't think. So there's all of these products. People who had been before World War II and during making do and mending, planting victory gardens, you know, not buying stockings, like really a measured, community-focused kind of lifestyle where people were consumers in the way that they bought something because they needed it. They kept it for a long period of time. They repaired it.
Yeah.
Girl, I stretched it out. I mean, you know, really stretched it out to people who are buying things just to buy things. So this is where like shopping becomes more recreation. Items become more luxury and convenience-oriented. As I'm sure you're well aware, plastic becomes a much more used material, which for a really young material, like, I mean, plastic ain't been around that long, but the proliferation of it was explosive after World War II because it was seen as a disposable convenience material.
Yep.
You seeing off the rack fast fashion, you know, people are now having bigger cars, bigger homes, like every aspect. It was also attitudinal. Every aspect of the American dream changed. It went from we got to get through this war, we're all in it together, we've got a common enemy, to I'm tired of tightening my belt. I want a victorious society. We consume things. Purchasing is patriotic. And so every aspect.
And I look cute.
Yeah.
When I do what I want to do.
I live in the suburbs now, which also kind of was literally invented at this time period. And I want to have a dishwasher. I want to have an automatic washing machine. I want to have 2 cars. I want to have new dresses. So these were all I want to have meat at every meal. That was also something people were not doing on the regular. So we see this, I would say, maybe not return to excess, but a real embracing of excess as a victorious society.
And our right.
And our right. Yeah. An entitlement, really. People were tired of, you know, living a measured lifestyle.
Yep.
It just wasn't what was seen as like what a braggadocious, victorious, winning society does. And so at that time, you know, not only do we have industry ramping up, but we also have a very robust ad council that was doing advertisements during the war. So the propaganda ads that you see where it's like, if you're not carpooling, you're riding with Hitler, or, you know, food waste feeds the Nazis and stuff like that. And that was really great advertising that got people to collectively come together. And then the ad council, you know, was like, yo, we got to get people buying these new luxury things. And so you start to see advertising really shift and marketing shift to become kind of this golden Mad Men age of advertising. So all of that creates this really hypnotic cocktail, especially for women. Yep. I'm going to say white women, but women in the United States who were otherwise holding down the fort at these factories, and then they get the boot, right? Because guys need to come in there who are returning to work. And now they're married to somebody who probably is a freaking stranger, if we're being real about it. There actually is like a really interesting collection of letters that women write like at this time to their moms or to family members. And a common thread is that these women feel lonely. Mm-hmm. They feel lonely. Their husbands feel like strangers, maybe because they've been to war for many years, maybe because they just met them, maybe because they have PTSD. You know, there's a lot of things, right? And instead of multi-generational living, which a lot of people were doing in like cities, now they're in the suburbs and they feel really isolated. Yeah.
It's so, like the movie, wasn't it
Revolutionary Road? Yeah. Kind of like that, right?
Yeah, and Julianne Moore.
And I think it's super interesting because we've only been taught, at least in the United States, that like this was a golden age for women. We got Donna Reed, we got Lucille Ball, you know, like women were happy at this time. But something that the data shows us and that we anecdotally know is that when we feel lonely and we feel isolated, that's a really primed position to be in to shop, like to impulse shop, because we're looking to be soothed. We want to feel like we belong. We want to feel like this thing is going to change our lives and make us more connected. And the data shows that actually like consumption and overconsumption actually just makes us lonelier. Yep. But so all of this perfect storm was happening right after World War II. Yep. And of course, as a lot of people, and you especially know, this is when we actually see like a really meteoric spike in harmful global emissions as well. Who'd have thunk when you really ramp up industrialization and production, and then you also have attendant consumption, it's just going to continue to be a spiral. But we actually have the data that shows like it hurts the planet. So all of these things are happening at this time, and it's really just it hasn't even plateaued. It's continued to ascend. There's a researcher who says that our desire for new things and consumption is ever ascending, and that always has stuck with me. I think it's a really interesting, because like, look at how, I know I'm going on a whole tangent, but look at how consumption is now. Like, look at Labubus and Stanley Cups and stuff like that.
I don't know what Labubu is, but...
Yeah, I didn't either. We're uncool, guys. We're not cool. But Labubus are like these little troll kind of... like charm...
Like little
toys.
collectibles?
Yeah, and they're very interesting and stuff, but like the goalposts are always being moved on consumption, especially in the United States, and the limit like almost doesn't exist. Like what was egregious consumption 3 years ago is now considered normal.
Yep.
People on social media use the hashtag underconsumption, which I think is wild because, it's a counter to overconsumption. But underconsumption to me says you're not getting your needs met. Like there are people who certainly are victims of underconsumption. You know, I'm thinking of under-resourced folks, people experiencing houselessness, whatever it might be. But you having 5 handbags instead of 12 is not underconsumption. Bro, that's just regular ass consumption or something, you know? Yeah. So
and it's still creating, at the end of the day, right? And actually my first job out of college was in advertising as a brand strategist for a beer brand, a Brazilian beer brand.
Oh, how fun.
And I lasted 6 months.
Okay, so not so fun. Not so fun.
But from there, I ended up having an amazing opportunity to go to China, which opened up a whole new career path for me. But the way I think about it, right, is these are all what the job of the advertiser is and now like through social media and marketing, is to embed the desire.
Yeah.
Right? And how do you do that? You show something that you do not have.
Yeah.
And so it's like you could be hashtag underconsumption, but you're still showing off your 5 handbags.
Yeah.
And then you're still, as a viewer, possibly saying, well, I only have 4 handbags, you know? And
so I guess I'm
under consuming.
You're behind. You're behind in life if you don't. I'm glad you brought that up too, because there's, not to get like too in the weeds about like marketing, but like what else are we doing here? It used to just be like if you wanted to advertise something before, you know, the end of the 1800s, you'd be like, here's this bread. I make good bread. Who wants bread? You know, and that was kind of it.
Yep.
And it wasn't actually until Sigmund Freud's nephew came over to the US and started pitching companies that he could enmesh sociology and psychology into advertising to make it so much more potent. And I say this to your point of, you know, showing people what they're missing out on or showing people what they should want. And what a lot of his work did is tap into what people, especially women, wanted to feel. Because his first clients were like the American Tobacco Company. And at the time, smoking was considered very unladylike. And so for tobacco companies, that's like a bummer because that's like 51% of the population you're missing out on selling cigs to.
Yeah.
And so Sigmund Freud's nephew then decided, okay, well, let's find out what women want. And at that time, women wanted, shocker, to be thin. Mm-hmm. That's what they wanted, which tale as old as time, but they wanted to be thin. And so he started working with marketing messaging that that still is here today. I'm a former smoker, and I tell you what, part of why I didn't want to quit smoking is I thought, I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to have that oral fixation. I'm going to be eating all the time. And so it was to the point where smoking was advertised as a cravings buster, an appetite suppressant, to the point where OBGYNs at the time were recommending that pregnant women smoke as a way to curb cravings and not gain as much weight.
Wow.
And that's wild to me, but like we know that that's something that happened. And then at that point, like, you know, the tobacco companies were like, cool, but these women are like smoking like in the shadows, you know, they're not out at social gatherings really like shouting from the rooftops, I'm a smoker and I love it.
Yeah, we haven't fully tapped into the addressable market.
Right. They're smoking in secret in their homes while they're with child so that they don't gain weight or whatever, right? But so then here comes the women's suffrage movement Freud's nephew interviews women again. What do you want? We want equality.
Yeah.
We want equality. And so then cigarettes were promoted as being a very countercultural thing to do if you embrace feminism and if you believe that women should have the vote. Because what's more disruptive than women doing something that is considered to be only for the men?
Absolutely.
So you can see at suffragette marches, like, I mean, big ones. There are photographs of this. These big suffragettes will be like, raise your torches of freedom. Cigarettes were literally called torches of freedom.
It's amazing.
And everybody be busting cigs like it was a club in the 90s.
Kind of. That's one of the angles, right, for cigarettes or vaping now. It's like your counterculture.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that you're shelling out big bucks to very wealthy corporations.
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
But you doing that, you feel, like you're a rebel.
And that's all marketing, and marketing being so much more potent and I would say almost weaponized because it's leveraging that psychological, what do I want? And women are really targeted for this and extremely susceptible to it because we know we don't, like we're targeted with stuff around anti-aging and weight and, all these things. And so that's all by design to tap into what do we want to feel? Well, we want to feel young and energetic and beautiful and, lithe and all that stuff. So the same psychological tactics are being used now. It's just that example or that history of it is just so wild to me.
That's really wild. I am thinking while you're talking, and this is like a mental loop I get stuck in. Yeah. So I'm going to exit my brain and maybe help you solve it for me or burden you. While I completely agree with your gender, like how the gender breakdown has happened and the need that women have to find fulfillment and manifestation through consumption. On the other hand, in some ways, the acceleration of opportunities to consume has also made women's lives somewhat easier.
Interesting.
One example is things like you mentioned, a dishwasher. That used to be done by hand.
Yep.
A clothes washer machine used to be the women sitting out back,
having to
bending over their back, washboard, and then hang the clothes. So that's one category of consumption, things that liberated women from having to do really tedious work.
Yeah.
Similarly, like I'm generally averse to like Amazon, but I use it, I shop on it, and like I order groceries to be delivered.
Yeah.
That saves me a lot of time every single week, and that would definitely fall on my shoulders otherwise. And then on the other side, when you're talking about like refurbing and darning, I've talked to people who don't know what darning your socks means, by the way. People, they're like, darn your socks. I'm
it's a bit of a lost art, lost term.
I just sew up the hole of my sock,
Yeah.
And they're like, darning. In any case, those are activities that generally also fall on women.
Yeah.
And so I feel like women are simultaneously complicit, but also for feminism, we advance and we benefit from some of these consumer modernizations.
Totally. And I think I would make a distinction, not that you're not, but between innovation, which can absolutely revolutionize people's lives and free up time. I mean, listen, I don't have a dishwasher where I live right now, and I'm feeling the hurt. I'm feeling the hurt very acutely. But between innovation and then like quantity of innovation or quantity of things.
Yeah.
And I would almost counter that, like, there's pretty good data that shows that women, if they're in a space, especially their homes, where they feel like they have too much stuff in their space, it raises cortisol levels. It will spike their stress receptors and actually create like a distressing experience for them that men do not experience. Men and their children do not experience the same, which is a really interesting, I think, kind of study. So there's like a right-sized amount of consumption for everybody.
Yep.
And that differs depending upon who you are. So the innovation of a dishwasher or a washing machine, yeah, I'm not going to give that up. And yes, also it does take time to repair things. And so I totally get that. But then there's kind of like it can go off the rails and you have so many like innovations of convenience that maybe you don't actually need or use or want in your home anymore.
Yep.
And so that blessing can become a bit of a curse after a while. And I think that's where maybe you're not there and I'm not there, but where a lot of people are, especially in the United States, is that they don't even realize how stressful their relationship to stuff has gotten and how stressful their relationship to consumption has gotten in their lives, because they're just kind of autopiloting like, oh yeah, I got this whole room full of shit that I never use, and oh, I should return those things. I've got like 50 returns to make, but I forgot about it. You know, their stuff becomes like this swirl of stress, and they just don't even, it's so normalized that they don't even realize that it's happening.
Yeah. So you're begging the question. You're helping people to become aware and hopefully then empower them to figure out what is that right size amount of consumption.
Yeah, I think it's worth asking, I think everyone, even the most ardent minimalist, you know, to kind of be like, am I okay with my level of consumption? Like, is this right sized for me? Do I feel good about it? And even if somebody is okay with where they're at, there are always benefits that come from finding alternative ways to get your needs met, borrowing things, cultivating community, engaging with the secondhand market or circular economies, you know, renting things. Like, there are always other ways to get your needs met, especially when it comes to stuff. I'm not talking about groceries and things like that, than just adding to cart and buying new.
Yeah.
And exploring those, I think, can be beneficial to anyone, whether they're in a really great financial situation and they are not that susceptible to the marketing, or someone who really, really is in quite a swirl with overconsumption. Like, I think testing those habits out is always a good thing.
I completely agree. I want to use that as a jumping off point.
Let's jump.
Because you're a 2-time author now.
Yay.
And we've got your most recent book here, No New Things. It started as a personal challenge.
Yep.
And you've talked a little bit about this, but what did you learn from doing it yourself? And tell us a bit about the book.
Yeah, so the book, I'll talk about that first. So the book kind of goes through a little bit of the background of No New Things, which I kind of gave you, the shorthand version of that. And it outlines the challenge itself, which is a 30-day challenge that helps you to cultivate habits and mindsets and attitudes that are going to get your needs met in those alternative ways. And also hopefully reap a lot of benefits in your life over the course of 30 days. So it's a fully guided, shepherded challenge day by day.
Cool.
That you can also customize too. I'm no sheriff here. Like, we're not, nobody's going to be like, you messed up on that day, now you got to go back to the beginning. It's not like that. It's very much like, pick what works for you and go with that. There is a really, I would say, pretty robust section of the book that goes through the history that I kind of touched on, because I really believe that in order to wrangle our consumption habits, we have to understand like the genesis, like where did they come from? Because a lot of people, and thousands of people have done the challenge before it was ever even a book. A lot of people will say, oh, I'm just so powerless. Like, they'll feel really apathetic and kind of angsty and stymied by their relationship to shopping, for instance. And they'll say, oh, I just have no willpower. And I like to show people, like, it's not willpower, dog. Like, you've literally been conditioned to be a consumer since you exited the womb.
100%.
And so there's
starts very early.
Yeah, and I want people to understand the historical intersections. I want people to understand how marketing has evolved to be this Leviathan thing that it is now that's almost inescapable for us. And that's not to give doom and gloom like it's hopeless, but rather to arm you with the tools so that you can see clearly what's happening. And then you can kind of decide, okay, I can take a minute. I'm not as susceptible to that. Like, I see it for what it is. So that's really what the book is. And then as far as like my relationship to No New Things, I started doing it intending to just do it for 30 days back in 2013. And I had caveats in there. I could buy, of course, food. This also isn't a no spend challenge. This is, I want people to, it's very things focused.
Yep.
So I want people to spend money on the stuff that lights them up. You know, if that's going to a workout class, going on a trip, experiences, the things that really enrich your life. I want people to spend money on that because that's going to kind of get you closer to what your real priorities are. My argument is that the stuff is kind of suffocating us from being able to get clear on some of those things.
Yeah.
So it's really, truly what it sounds like. No new things. So then if there are things that you need, then I kind of lay out a blueprint or a system for all these alternative ways that you can get your needs met. And now there are so many more alternative ways than just, you know, like what it was in 2013 when I was doing it.
Yeah.
But as far as benefits, what I found, I, of course, wanted to save some money. And who'd have thought that you save a lot of money when you're not blowing your load on a bunch of stuff that you don't actually need, right? I mean, that's just true. So I did save money. I was able to pay off debt. I was able to save a good amount of money. And this was after I'd transitioned careers. So this was while I was building a career in sustainability. So I wasn't bringing in the same amount of money that I was when I was a political strategist.
Yeah.
And I was still able to save money and pay off debt through these kind of processes. I found the most shocking to me was the time back.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think a lot of people don't realize, but we spend a lot of time browsing, shopping. We spend a lot of time on stuff-related upkeep activities like cleaning, repairing, storing, offloading stuff, right? Yeah. And like you said earlier, women bear the brunt of a lot of that. Like the U.S. Department of Labor does like an American time use study every few years. And women can spend anywhere from it's 2 to 7 hours a day on kind of stuff-related shopping and management activities. Yeah. That's a lot of freaking time. So I found that pretty clearly within the first week. I was like, holy granola, I've got a lot of time here that I've been frittering away, buying, browsing, whatever. Yeah. And I thought that was interesting.
Planning to buy something.
Judging, should I buy this or should I buy that? Like a lot of brain space too. So I found myself less stressed as well as having a lot more time. And I also found myself having just better connections. Like you have to cultivate some kind of community to do this successfully, whether that's joining a buy nothing group or, you know, borrowing with your friends or having a clothing swap or whatever it is. So I often say overconsumption in this late stage capitalistic kind of system makes us lonely. And this wasn't how people used to live. We used to rely on each other. You know, it wasn't our homes weren't like a Noah's Ark where we had 2 weed whackers and we each had our own chocolate fountains, our own bouncy castles. And so people didn't live like that. You couldn't buy a personal computer, so people kind of resource shared through their communities and their networks. And getting back to that does strengthen those bonds with people, even if you're just joining a like-minded community where you get advice from people on Facebook or something. You're asking people, or you're asking a friend yo, I'm about to go on TV. Can I look at your closet and see if there's an outfit I could wear? You're creating some connection there that you can never have when you're just adding to cart and buying. So I think that's really special. And then the clarity too. I didn't realize how much my life was, I used the term before, but suffocated by stuff. Yeah. There's a minimalist aspect to it. I decluttered and people who do the challenge do the same. But I felt less stressed. I felt clear. I felt like I had the time and the energy to focus on the things that really filled me up. Yep. And gave me satisfaction. So I got a lot done in those 2 years that I spent years saying, girl, I don't have the time to read that book, or I don't have the time to volunteer. I don't have the time to write the book proposal or whatever. Well, I had the time then and I got after it. And so those were just some of the benefits that I experienced that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, that's amazing. And also to your point about that loneliness, right? That feeds the consumption. So it's a either upward spiral or a downward spiral. Yeah. Right? You can choose to spiral upwards and build community.
Which is great. We love a spiral if it's upwards.
Yeah. Or downward where you're lonely or you buy more. You're lonelier. It feeds on itself.
Right. And nothing makes you feel lonelier than being freaking broke and afraid to look at your bank statement. And you know what I'm saying? And then looking at a house that's full of stuff that you don't even want anymore. That'll make you feel even worse. Yeah. So it's kind of at least a gradual step up, which is a nice feeling.
That's awesome. So in your opinion, then, can consumer behavior really drive systemic change, or is that just a convenient distraction from corporations? And this kind of feeds into the broader like sustainability movement, as well as like the plastic free movement.
Of course, yeah.
Right. For so long, I think consumers have been blamed and told like, you need to recycle. You're not recycling correctly.
Right. Which we know is completely unfair and baseless. Yeah.
Yeah. And so on the plastics conversation, yes, you can be an individual doing your absolute best. And I encourage that and support that. And you absolutely should.
Yeah.
Because, modeling behavior is contagious. There's network effects, right? People see you doing something. They're like, oh, I can do that too.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you think about the role of the individual versus the corporation at all.
Yeah. So I feel like most of my career around sustainability, it has been focused on the role of the individual. Not because I don't care about policy stuff or industry regulations or politics, but because I really believe that in order for the needle to be moved in any meaningful way, you need the macro, but you also need the micro. And I think with climate anxiety being as pervasive as it is and really stymieing people from feeling like they can be effective in doing anything.
Yep.
I feel like very few of us are captains of industry or heads of state. We're not going to individually be able to make those big regulatory changes that we do need to save the planet. But we can all tend to our own little corner of the universe and do the best we can.
Yeah.
And in doing that, like you said, I think that that's one, contagious. We have evidence that shows that even in environmental things, individual behavior change rolls up to be a more collective movement, which then informs business decisions, informs political decisions. Basically, you become too big to ignore. And I think we see that in a lot of ways. I mean, I think we see that with like the rise of plant-based food products. 100%. You see that in like the way that consumers are buying things and are more interested in eco-friendly products. So I really believe in the power of the individual. But then as you talked about, like that network effect is really potent. Like we don't realize how influential we can be to people. And we don't realize that when we go into something and we make it like a journey of joy, whether it's sustainability or like a know new things, and we're excited by the strides we're making, how much that breeds curiosity in other people who are seeing us just kind of move about our lives. And I really believe that's like super powerful.
Yeah.
And a really cool aspect of it. And taking any kind of positive step forward, even if it's small, even if it's something that's as seemingly innocuous as bringing your own bag to the grocery store or whatever, I think that that's a potent antidote to anxiety.
Yeah.
Like clinicians will tell you, if you're feeling depressed or you're feeling anxious, just do one right thing. Like your next thing, just one right thing, making your bed, drinking a glass of water. Well, I would say the same can be applied for climate anxiety and for sustainable living. So I do really believe in the power of the individual because it's really the only thing that we can control.
Yeah.
But I'm banking on the power of the individual to roll up to things where we become too big to ignore, whether it's in overconsumption or sustainability, which those are inextricably linked, where companies then go, well, crap, we gotta focus more on circularity or right to repair, or we gotta stop putting the burden on consumers, because I don't think consumers are chiefly responsible for the climate crisis, but I think that we have the capacity to help with it.
Yeah.
So I think they're both really powerful, but all you and I can really control is who we are. Well, you probably have more of a macro reach than I do with what you're doing.
I don't know. This book is amazing, and that people are inspired and taking your teachings and then putting it into their day to day. That's amazing. And then the ripple effects and potential of that. I'm curious, you talked a bit about like kind of the three legs of a stool, I guess, of like the individual, the company, and then government.
Yeah.
What do you think in terms, like, how would you think about accountability? And accountability can mean a lot of different things. So I'm happy to go in any direction that you think is interesting. For me, I've been not involved with the government for a very long time, and now I'm finally starting to really dig into like local government and calling your your local representative. So for me, that's become a form of accountability. Like I can do the business work and I can do my individual household work. And now I'm finally starting to be like, okay, what could the government also do?
Yeah, I love that.
I don't know if you have another way to think about accountability there.
I mean, I think that what we demand or what we're like what we buy, for instance, or what we don't buy sends very profound messages to corporations. I'm just going to talk about like bigger corporations in this instance. And those corporations are having conversations with governments. They don't want certain regulations. They don't want we see this a lot with like the legislation that's out there around right to repair.
Yeah. And extended producer responsibility now.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, like taking the burden off consumers for the end of life of an item, or of a product. And putting that responsibility back on companies, which some companies are game and some are shaking in their boots. They don't like it. So I think what you're kind of talking about is almost more like activism, like activism that hopefully pushes for more accountability because it shows governments and corporations, hey, we're watching you, beyond just you also reinforcing the message of, I'm not buying this shit.
Yeah.
I'm not buying this stuff, or I'm buying something else from a competitor because I find it to be a better product that is better for the planet, right? Those are all messages that you can individually send, but then as you're taking kind of your passion out into the world, and obviously with what you do with your professional life too, all of those send other messages that I would say are like a really potent form of activism. And if, a lot of people will say like, oh, well, Manuela's just one person or whatever. But like, what if all of us ended up doing that? What if like a handful of people in your circle and then they influenced other people? Like we know that this stuff can catch on like wildfire. Yeah. And so I think having like you're setting an example too, which I think sometimes that makes a lot of companies afraid because you're like a triple threat. You're out here doing it on a professional level, a personal level, and then I would say any kind of government involvement's more like an activism level.
Yeah.
And that's scary in a cool way, girl.
All right, I'll keep doing it.
Yeah, keep doing it.
I got the Ashlee Piper seal of approval.
I think 2025 women should be more scary.
Yeah, love it.
More feared.
Light some fires under some booties.
Hey, yeah, why not?
So everyone has to go out and buy your book, but maybe you can tease what are some micro habits that people can adopt to start consuming less and living more.
Sure. Well, it's not lost on me or my publisher that no new things, a book is a new thing, but there are lots of non-thing ways to access the book too. There's an audiobook, an ebook.
Yeah.
It's at every freaking library.
Get at the library.
Yeah, you can
read
share it with
pass
friends.
it to a friend.
Exactly. I encourage all of that stuff. And then as far as micro habits go, well, I'll give you the basic framework for what I call the super system. That's the alliterative kind of acronym for how you can alternatively get your needs met. So instead of buying something new, I encourage people to go through the super system, which is, could you get this item in a different way? The S stands for secondhand. We know, secondhand first, if you can get it secondhand, might be a good thing. The U stands for upcycling, reimagining, or repurposing. Yeah. Do I already have something that could fit the utility of this new thing that I'm looking for? And that one's a fun one, right? Because you can get creative. Do I already have stuff in my closet that I can fashion into an outfit that feels more current? Yeah. And will give me that feeling of my life's going to change. Like you were talking about at the beginning of the
And I'll jump in to say really quickly, I do that. I practice that a lot at home. And I have a young son. And you can see his eyes light up when he realizes that like the previous existing kind of like boundaries aren't real. Like he uses a like wooden kind of pencil for this art book that he has where you actually use it to scrape off the black.
Oh, that's cool.
Kind of like you used to get like a lottery ticket and you'd scrape off like the silver part, and he lost it. And so I was like, well, let's just use a chopstick. Yeah. And for him, this was like, wait.
Like mind blowing.
I could use a chopstick instead of that. And I love... And I think that's actually a foundational lesson for entrepreneurs, which is to be able to look across categories and say, okay, like in Kadeya, we've been using robotic arms in factories. Couldn't we use a robotic arm in a micro factory?
Yeah, which
that's
is
just
like
a
the
little
machine.
box. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, why not?
Yeah. So I actually find like from an innovation and entrepreneurship perspective, the U is a real foundational muscle.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yes. I'm so glad you said, because the science backs that up too. We think that creativity or resourcefulness or resiliency, kind of whatever words you want to use for it, we have been told that by having limitless options of stuff to buy,
you're preaching the choir
that's going to make us more creative. But actually the science shows that's not how creativity in our brain works. We need parameters that the brain can butt up against. Necessity is the mother of invention. Exactly, baby. And it's only single use is a lack of imagination.
It's lazy.
It is.
It's actually not an efficient system.
But we have been marketed to believe that a lot of the products that we interact with every day or that we buy have one use. And that's bull honky. And we know that that's not true. But I love that you kind of show it from like the eyes of your child too, because kids don't have that same kind of like, they don't have those limitations, like you said. So yeah, upcycling, repurposing, reimagining what you have is a really freaking cool thing to do. And chances are you probably have something that already fits the bill for what you're looking at a new item to do. The P is pay nothing. So it's like getting something for free, you know, whether it's off of buy nothing, you live in a place that has a vibrant stooping culture like New York, you know, free cycle, like whatever it is, you're getting something for free from a friend, wherever. The next one is E. So that's experiences. That's both gifting for yourself and for others, but it also goes to like the being generous. So that could be giving money, donations, you know, whatever it is, but experiences. You can spend your money on that. That's a great way to give gifts, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then the R is renting, borrowing, or sharing. And I think we're getting more into a place, not as much as like some other countries, but we're getting more into a space in the United States where borrowing's coming back. It's cool again. You know, you don't need to buy a whole litany of tools. You can go to the tool library. You can go to the Home Depot. You know, we have a lot of these kind of new sharing opportunities that are out there, which I think are really neat. You can rent gowns for functions, you know. And so that's the super system. These are the alternative ways to get your needs met. So if people are looking for a way to kind of engage with and know new things like way of life, using that as your North Star whenever you feel the urge to buy something. The other thing I would say is that while there's not a lot of data out there around how long a shopping urge lasts, because shopping's just not as studied as you might think, things that give you a similar hit of dopamine that could potentially become problematic, like food addictions, you know, things like that have been well studied. And it shows that like a craving to get that thing only lasts anywhere from 2 to 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you can ride out that 2 to 7 minutes, which is a retailer's nightmare, by the way, that's why they have all this like stored payments, and they don't want you to.
No, once you get to checkout, girl, they keep it moving out.
They want you to please complete the transaction, and you can see in the life cycle of their emails and correspondence to you if you put something in your cart.
And then don't buy it.
Oh, they're like a bad boyfriend who never goes away. They're like, hey, did you leave this here? Hey, we saw that you were looking at something. You'll get like 1,000 emails. Hey, what about a 25% off coupon? Because they don't want you to leave it there. They want you to complete the transaction. So if you can find other things to do in that 2 to 7 minutes, you're going to, at best, probably come back to that item and go, I didn't even freaking want that thing. I wasn't even that in. The bloom is off the rose. I'm not that into it. Or you might go, I do need that thing. That has a lot of utility in my life or beauty. I'm going to get joy from it. But you can look at it in a more clear-eyed way and determine, is it a need? Is it a want? And if it's a want, is it something that really will fulfill me? Yeah. Like you'll be able to bring a little bit more logic and discernment into the conversation. So I have folks make something I call a love list. Sometimes people call it a dopamine menu, but it's other easy to access things, activities that you can do instead of shopping. Yeah. So like somebody did Know New Things before it was ever a book. And he said, one of the things on my love list is every time I want to buy something, I do 25 sit-ups.
Awesome.
And I was like, I can imagine what this man looks like. Okay. Because he's probably out here abs of steel. I don't know what's going on. But like that, some people just go and play with their cat or, you know, give a hug or dance to a song or make themselves a coffee. Whatever it is, just get yourself out of the swirl of that 2 to 7 minutes where you're like, I gotta get it.
And realize that life goes on.
Life goes on. Touch grass. Like you'll forget about it. I promise.
Yeah. Amazing. All right. So transitioning over to rapid fire, What's the first thing you bought after your No New Things challenge ended?
A gown.
A gown.
It was a gown. Yeah, like a fancy dress.
To go to an event?
Yeah, to go to an event. And I just thought it was really beautiful. And, I still have it today.
Yeah.
So that was in 2000 and when was it? 2015. So I've had it for 10 years. I feel like that's pretty good mileage for something I bought.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay. What's one corporate greenwashing term that drives you nuts?
Oh, Lord. Well,
It doesn't have to be one also.
God, they all drive me nuts, honestly. I think just when people use the term eco-friendly or companies use the term eco-friendly, because that is, until the FTC gets, like marketing claims, like really standardized for companies, it's like the Wild West out there. So you've seen the evolution of green products and green service offerings, and most of it's bullshit. And so unfortunately, that puts the onus on consumers to have to be really educated about it. But everybody's rubric of what is eco-friendly is different.
Yep.
For you, it might be fair trade. For me, it might be it's not tested on animals. It's different, and we don't have a common playbook that we're reading off of to have those terms. So, yeah, I hate the term. I hate seeing the term eco-friendly used in marketing things because I'm like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like, what does that even mean? It's just a meaningless kind of bait and switch to me.
100%. What's your favorite zero-cost sustainable swap?
Buying less stuff.
Yeah.
Using what I have. I'm like the least I think I'm like unsponsorable. Like I'm a bad influencer because so much of like I'd go on TV and people always ask, what's the number one thing I can buy to be more sustainable? And I say, girl, nothing.
Nothing.
Just use what you got. That's pretty good right there. So I'd say that's pretty low cost. I think no cost. Let's see, what's another thing? Well, I don't use paper towels, just use cloths that I've had forever.
I have that too. And people think it's crazy.
That didn't cost me anything. I foster animals. I got a lot of occasions to use what I would otherwise reach for paper towels for. And
paper
I got
towels
a bunch of cut-up shirts and a bunch of cloths that I got at IKEA probably 20 years ago. Everything still works. They go in the wash. Didn't cost me a cent. It's great.
I love that. Okay, what's a sustainability buzzword that we should retire? And we've talked about eco-friendly.
Underconsumption.
Yeah. I had never seen that.
Yeah, I think underconsumption is something that's like making the rounds in the, the more TikTok kind of Instagram influencer realm. I think it is just a weird term that doesn't even semantically make sense to me. Another term I think we should probably sunset is zero waste, honestly, because nothing is really zero waste.
Yep.
And the zero waste lifestyles and influencers of, 10 years ago, that created like this really whitewashed standard of perfection that a lot of people said, oh, why try? I can't keep all my trash in a mason jar. 100%. My home doesn't look all this minimalist and beautiful and stuff. So I think that's probably a term that's confusing for people as well.
Yep. I love that.
I don't hate the term, but I think the pursuit of the lifestyle is fantastic. We should all endeavor to be as low waste as possible. Yeah, I agree. It's like the word sustainability. Like if you get down to it, being alive is not sustainable. Yeah. The most sustainable thing. Wait, this is an existential podcast now. Yeah. It's not. Being alive ain't sustainable, baby. It's not. Yeah, when you take it all the way, like being alive is not sustainable. That's true. Sorry, dude. Yeah. So then what does it mean to live sustainably? What does it mean for a planet to benefit from sustainable habits? Like, what is that? Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's hard to define some of that stuff. Super hard. Okay. Finish the sentence. The most sustainable thing I own is. Oh my gosh. The most sustainable thing I own is. Girl, it's probably a lot of jars. Like, it's so lame. I'm thinking of like, I don't know, anytime I buy something in glass, I'm a jar hoarder. Me too. There's a lot of jars in my house. I don't know, but I use them for a lot of stuff. So okay, so what's one unexpected thing you store in a jar, a reused jar? Oh, I put everything in there. Yeah. I mean, it's not just for food out here in these streets. I am, shampoo, lotion, conditioner, like
Paper
dog
clips.
treats, cat treats, gifts for people. I don't know, like everything, cleaning solutions that I make, laundry detergent, vinegar. I like everything. Like it looks like a Ripley's Believe It or Not kind of like jar storage, I'm sure, in my kitchen or whatever.
Cool.
But rubber bands, jewelry. I don't know. I mean, you can really put anything in a jar. It's really kind of like a cool thing.
Yeah.
This is a jar podcast. This is a podcast about a jar. But the reason why I say it's the most sustainable thing I guess I own is because there's a lot of stuff that like those just came into my life so organically because I bought some food that was in them. And now some have been with me for like a disgusting amount of time. And they're still great.
Well,
you know?
glass and stainless steel.
I mean, like
infinitely reusable.
It's almost like you should be getting your water from a reusable, ever cleaned, refilled vessel anytime you go anywhere.
I mean, that sounds great to me.
That does. Me too.
Sign me up.
Me too. I'm not just a believer. I'm also an early adopter.
Yeah, you are.
Kadeya.
And a co-owner, an investor.
Yeah, that's something too. I don't like blow my money on crap I don't need and poorly made things, but I love that it has freed me up to, at least in some small way, be able to support the growth of companies like yours that are doing things I really like, are values aligned, that I think are going to change the game.
Thank you.
That is incredibly fulfilling to be able to do something like that. So
yeah, collect companies.
Yeah, I'm a company collector. No, I'm not. You're my only company.
Just the first.
Yeah, just at the first of many. But it's
nice.
It's nice if you have discretionary income to be able to put it towards something that you actually believe in, that you think will make the world better. And obviously, we know
that will create wealth, create jobs.
That the beverage industry is extremely wasteful, and this I hope will change that. Well, I know it could change it. I just hope that you get the runway to do it.
We're doing it. Amazing. Thank you so much for being here. That was an incredible conversation. I could have kept going for hours.
Oh.
Just to close it out, we had an amazing conversation with Ashlee Piper, sustainability expert, author, speaker, and educator. She has an amazing new book out called
No New Things.
And if you don't buy a copy, you could go to the library. You can
ways
get it from a friend.
Yeah.
Get the Kindle version or the Audible, or maybe buy it used from Amazon is another option.
I think that's also an Amazon. That's also an Amazon. That's also an option. I'm sure.
Many options.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manuela.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening to Unbottled. If this episode got you thinking about plastic, systems change, or how we build a better future, don't just be a listener, be an owner. Kadeya is raising a community round on WeFunder, and that means you can invest as little as $100 and help us bring closed-loop beverage systems to more people in more places. Because real change doesn't happen alone, and the future of hydration needs all of us. Learn more and join our investor community at wefunder.com/Kadeya. That's Kadeya. The link is also in the show notes. Let's build it together.